Hello, and welcome back to anime characters that I think are autistic. Next on the list is Tsukishima from Haikyuu. So, Tsukishima from Haikyuu has a few symptoms that I think are a little bit similar to Kageyama in a way. I feel like it's not as prominent as Kageyama, and so a lot of people don't really see them as similar characters. But the thing is that they are both averse to people. Kageyama more so than Tsukishima, but Tsukishima is... his symptoms are similar in that there's betrayal, sort of. A betrayal that people who are neurotypical wouldn't really even see as betrayal. So Tsukishima believes in his brother, loves his brother, believes his brother understands him and loves the same sport as him and is superior to people in this sport. And it makes him feel happy that he has someone that is that huge and amazing in the sport that he loves and admires and is his special interest, until he finds out that his brother lied to him. Now, neurotypical thinking would be, well, my brother loves me, he was just trying to show off, it's no big deal. But when an autistic person trusts you to the core and finds you to be an amazing individual and believes that you understand them and that you have sort of a bond that is trustworthy, and you lie to them about it, and it's something that is special to them, that they hold dear in their heart, that they love, that is a betrayal. It's a lie, it's a betrayal, and it broke Tsukishima's heart to pieces. He stopped trusting people. That's why when he meets people that he thinks are similar to his brother, he gets angry because he can't trust them. He can't put himself in their shoes. He doesn't understand them. Another thing I noticed with Tsukishima is he might possibly have sensory issues because he's always walking around with those headphones. Now, does that mean that he just likes music? Possibly. But a lot of the time when you see him putting on headphones and listening to music and things like that, I seem to see a connection with there being noise. So when he's on the bus, before he walks into the court, like things like that, he has headphones on. He likes to listen to music, and it seems like it's to divert from noise. Now, he has put those on while like playing video games on his phone or something, I'm pretty sure, like on his bed, but most of the time that you see him listening to music and things like that, it seems to be a sensory distraction. I am not claiming that this is a fact. I am not claiming that I know this manga and anime so well that I can say for sure that this is a sensory problem. I'm saying that from what I remember and what I have seen, it seems like a sensory issue. Another thing that I've noticed with him is that he seems to get very, very irritated when people and I feel like a lot of people think of him as insecure. And from a neurotypical thinking, that might be the case. And he is a little bit insecure as well. But he doesn't like being underestimated. He doesn't like being misrepresented. And that's a huge problem with people who are autistic. They want to be seen as they are because they are used to being misunderstood constantly in conversation and other things. And so he sometimes will take somebody's statement and it will mean something else in his head, and he will get offended because he's so used to being misunderstood regularly that things like this, the things like they irritate him. They make him angry. And so I feel like with Tsukishima, his symptoms are more subtle. And so I'm not going to say with complete certainty this man is autistic, right? He could just have ADHD, but the issue here is that I do not think he's a neurotypical person. I really don't. And when it comes to his traits, I would say that they are pretty similar to Kageyama's. And I think that's also why they don't get along either. I feel like Tsukishima is better at adapting to neurotypical people. I feel like he does what he can to get used to atmospheres that bother him, or to talk to people regularly. I feel like even though he can sometimes be snarky and he can sometimes be rude and people recognize that, they can still play with him in volleyball. They still acknowledge him and they still try their best to get along with him, because in comparison to Kageyama, he's easier to get along with because his traits, his symptoms, they're not as obvious. They're not as in your face as Kageyama's. And I think that happens a lot with autistic people, sadly. It is a spectrum, right? Autism is a spectrum. And so sometimes people who symptoms show more get disregarded in society. Tsukishima does some of the same stuff that Kageyama does. Tsukishima acts in similar ways to Kageyama at some points in time. But the issue here is that at the end of the day, because Tsukishima is better at understanding social cues and can fall in line when he needs to, people like him more. Because Tsukishima is also very, I will have my way about volleyball. He very much so is. It's his special interest as well. It very clearly is. But because, again, he can fall in line occasionally, people don't really notice that. I think with characters and Haikyuu, the characters that seem to have autism to me, a lot of people don't really recognize to have autism in their headcanons. And that's partially because I see myself in some of these characters that I see as autistic. I'm an autistic woman myself, and so my symptoms are not as obvious, I think, to a lot of people. And so when I see symptoms, a lot of those symptoms aren't as clear to people, if that makes any sense, because I'm seeing my symptoms in them. With Hinata, he could very well be autistic, but I feel like he's way more ADHD. I feel like people see that he's hyperactive, and so they see autism. I think that it's fascinating to see how that works, and how people view autistic people, but it's not all hyper, bouncing off the walls behavior. Sometimes it's just autism, if that makes any sense. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope you'll tell me what you think about my headcanon that Tsukishima is autistic. Thank you, and I hope you have a lovely day. Subscribe to my channel, please, and thank you. Like and comment as well.